Welcome to Dropped In, Melissa. I am so grateful to be here with you and to share you with our Dropped In community.
I'm excited to be here too, Megan. Thank you so much for having me, and your community is fantastic.
It's an absolute honor. So, I would love if you could take a moment to share with us, our community, who you are and what you do and why you're so passionate about your work.
Sure. My name is Melissa Robinson Weinmiller, and I teach emotional intelligence through the use of empathy. I target leaders primarily because not only can they do the most good on a large scale, but they can do the most damage when they don't employ it. But I really think it's something that every single one of us can use, should learn, and should be able to use to relate to other people every single day. So even though I'm in the realm of leadership, I think this goes way beyond that. Because I got on this path because of being treated very unempathically by some really harsh leadership. The more I'm out in the world and the more I meet people and the more different things I do, the more I realize that this is an epidemic within
Hmm.
the workforce, within groups, within government, within academia. And there is no reason why, when we're in a place right now where we're changing so many things about all these different groups, that we couldn't actually make this shift for something better, for something more humane.
Hmm.
Now is a fantastic time to do it. So
Hmm.
why not?
I can tell this is going to be a very energetically rich conversation.
I'm
Oh,
very excited about this topic because I've seen how much good it can do and how much damage being without it can do.
I can see why and I can sense that. So thank you for the work that you do because it is so needed, especially in today's day and age. It's the light, we need the light bringers, light workers now more than ever. So, how did you get into this leadership role within emotional intelligence and empathy? Like, what was the catalyst? Let's hear the backstory.
I was actually a classical musician for decades. I played French horn, I played in orchestras. I loved it. I adored being that person. I loved everything about it. I loved the music, I loved the people, I loved the performance. Um, and, because as a musician, it's kind of hard sometimes to have stability. I went and got my first doctorate so that I could teach at a university and have, crazy things like benefits. So I started teaching at this university, and within my first term, I was assaulted by one of my colleagues.
Hmm.
And then it unraveled from there. But the thing that really shocked me outside of the initial incident was just that I couldn't seem to get anybody to listen. Nobody wanted to hear what had happened. Nobody seemed to be able to make that human connection with me. It was a lot of, well, at least it's not me, or, well, I don't know what else to say. And as I kept going through, I mean, this was a 7-year process. These were not bad people. These were not malicious people, that I'm talking to, but these were people within a system that had them so removed from this
Mhm.
that they couldn't even begin to relate. By the end of it, it was so bad I had to walk away from a profession that I'd worked in for decades and was the only thing I'd ever wanted to be, was the only thing I ever wanted to do. So I kind of spun out for a while because it was really hard to disentangle who I am from the musician.
Mhm.
And there are still times that I don't do a very good job with it because that's how I had lived for so long. But within this, I just couldn't quit asking what happened. Why did this happen? What was the problem? Where was the disconnect? And it just kept coming back to this top down leadership thing, especially since I'd
Mhm.
been in leadership roles. After that, I had gone and done the corporate thing for a while, and it was the same kind of stupid problems. And then my husband and I were doing some consulting, and it was the same kind of problems. And
Mhm.
it always came down to the culture that was dripped down from the top.
Mhm.
So I started digging in and saying, what do I do with the other half?
Mhm.
How do I approach this? How do I even begin to make sense with this?
Mhm.
And long story short, I ended up getting into my second doctorate, which is in interdisciplinary leadership. And I'm working on my actual dissertation on empathy and leadership
Mm.
because I feel this is so important.
Mhm.
Plus, I needed to find an outlet for what had happened. The farther I go into it and the more I dig and the more people I talk to, the more I believe this, maybe it's not the answer, but it's an answer. And
Mhm.
I don't see anybody coming up with anything better.
No. I don't either. I was a nurse in my past life for a very long time, and the top-down leadership was not supportive, to say the least, so let's say that.
I understand completely. My husband's in healthcare, so a lot of what we've done has been in healthcare. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
Mm. Well, to backtrack, I'm sorry that was your experience, and I can only imagine how troublesome that was navigating through that. It sounds like a lot of people were keeping their heads in the sand and not wanting to see what was actually going on.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. And it was bad in my department. It was really bad because
Mhm.
it really did go all the way to the top, and there was just no quarter given. And with my colleagues, as long as I was the focus of some of this negativity,
Right.
they were not. They were very happy to stay out of the way. From their point of view, it was in their best interest. The thing is, it was the whole system. It didn't matter which department I went to or who I tried to talk to. In hindsight, I really wish I had taken a different path. When I went to talk to the person who was my boss and the boss of the person who had assaulted me, I was told that as a junior female faculty member, if I was stirring up trouble, I was never going to get tenure. And realize I'm in a brand new city. I had moved across country. I had no family. I had no support.
Wow.
I didn't know, and the only thing I knew was music. I was scared to death that I was gonna be blackballed out of it. That is ultimately what happened anyway, but I didn't know that at that time. When I went to his boss, I was told if I didn't like it, I should just leave. So, there was just no way around it. I wish I had made different decisions. I wish I would have actually pressed charges, but I didn't, and my understanding is I'm not the only one to have made that decision.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, your mission, I can sense your mission is deeply ingrained within you. And for those listening that aren't aware of what emotional intelligence is, can you explain to us what it is?
You bet. So, when you think of emotional intelligence, it's actually a big basket of things. So, I like to think of it kind of like a big tool bag. And in this tool bag, you've got communication skill. I mean, it's what people would call soft skills, which they're like anything but, because to be able to use them actually takes courage and a certain amount of strength. So, in this tool bag is a lot of the soft skills. So, communication, motivation, teamwork, interpersonal relations, all of that. And that's your hammers and your chisels and your saws and everything that you need right there.
Mhm.
So, really, at the end of the day, it's the ability for me to control and understand my emotions and understand yours.
Mhm.
I believe this is where empathy comes in because in the past, they've put empathy in that tool bag.
Mhm.
But I actually think it comes before the tool bag so that I can relate to you as a human being so I know what tool I'm reaching in for. And know to
Mm.
get a hammer and not a chisel.
I love the visuals. I I work within the subconscious mind. That's a lot of the work that I facilitate, and I love the visuals and the metaphors. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you bet. It's true. If you think of it, you break it down like that, these are our tools. These are our
Mhm.
skills. I really wanna know when I need a chisel and when I need a baseball glove and when I need something completely different instead of just randomly pulling out things and hoping it'll work.
Yes. So how can one enhance their emotional intelligence? What practices can they implement to do so?
The first thing I teach leaders when I work with them is that you've got to be able to self-reflect. You
Mhm.
need to be able to turn that spotlight inward and you need to do it honestly. It's not, well, I can already do that. Well, I've already got that. Well, I have this personality test that says I have emotional intelligence. No, reflect in. Are you actually using your emotional intelligence? Because using it and having it are two really different things. So
Mhm.
stop and think about it. And if you don't feel you can be honest with yourself, then find someone who can be honest with you. Get a coach, get a mentor, get an accountability buddy that isn't your personal assistant who's going to tell you the truth and
Mhm.
actually be willing to listen to the hard stuff. because until
Mhm.
you actually understand your emotional intelligence and how you're turning that into yourself, self-empathy, self-compassion,
Mhm.
self-understanding, you're never going to be able to display it for anybody else.
What are the types of leadership that you are working with or aspire to work with? Who do you see being a beautiful, energetic match for you?
The more I do this and the more I get into this, the more I'm finding that those in the middle leadership positions really
Mhm.
seem to be the ones that benefit most from what I do. Unfortunately, sometimes the ones at the top are not as open to suggestion because they've gotten to where they're at by doing what they're doing. So
Mhm.
they're not really ready to give that up because it's shown success, right?
Mhm.
Behavioral conditioning. If something is giving success, people aren't going to want to move away from it. Whereas if you're looking at the ones in the middle positions, they're still trying to find their way. They're still trying to figure out the best way to do this. And because a lot of them come up from below, they've seen the damage that bad leadership can do. These are also going to be the ones that eventually move into the top positions and are learning how to manage both up and down.
Mm.
So I feel this is where I can make the most difference and work with them to say, this might work better if you tried this. Your communication here was good. What happens next time if you ask open ended questions instead of leading questions? You managed to keep your temper during that meeting. Well done. Did you notice that people were more willing to be open and talk to you? The way I talk about it, it's meant to affect hard numbers. It helps with profit, productivity, and innovation.
Mhm.
There's data statistics that prove it.
Mhm.
So let's put this to work for the best use of everyone. And if these statistics are what we need to manage up, and the inner human cultural component is what we need to manage down, let's put it all together. Let's make it
Mhm.
better for everybody.
Oh my goodness, what a beautiful ripple effect it will create, won't it?
Exactly.
Yes, yes. Do you find that a lot of teams, a lot of industries are open to this way of thinking?
I'd say it's been about 50-50.
Mhm.
I do get a lot of pushback from people that are just like, oh, that'll never work. Well, if you say it's not, then you're right. One of the things I talk about is that in adult learning, first you have to have an awareness that there's a gap. So if there's
Mhm.
no awareness that there's a knowledge gap, there's not going to be any learning. The
Mhm.
second thing you have to have is a desire to fill that gap. So
Mhm.
if I go into someone and they're like, yeah, there's something really wrong, but our profits are up 8% and our board is happy, there's not much I can do. But if people understand that there's a gap and they're willing to learn, they're amazed at how quickly the results can come. And quite
Mhm.
frankly, these are the ones that are going to end up running circles around
Mhm.
the ones who are not willing.
Mhm. Yes, so much more productivity, 100%. How do you present yourself when you're working with various industries? How do you bring forth your gifts and offerings?
It really depends on the industry. For instance, I've been working with a director in a healthcare system. And his thing when he came in was, well, they really want me to change culture. They're big on the culture, but something's not working. What about the culture? By the time they talk to someone like me, there's a problem. Productivity is down. Everybody's quitting. I don't understand what to do with these millennials. There's
Yeah.
something that they want to address.
Mhm.
So in this case, he really wanted to address the culture that was going on. So we talked about it and I said, okay, you're coming in brand new. So the good news is you've got a clean slate. So what I want you to do is to be seen by your employees. I want you to touch your employees, your direct reports, at least once. And I don't want you to go and have long winded conversations and have a picnic on the green. I just need you to go by and say, how's everybody doing? How are things going? Did we get that problem solved? How's the kids? How's the vacation? Whatever, 20 minutes in and out. And oh, by the way, the bonus is it gets you up from your computer. So he started doing this. And what we were building was his know, like, and trust factor. As people got to know him as a human being,
Mhm.
they got to like him. As they got to like him, they got to trust him.
Mhm.
The people who trusted him were coming to him and saying, we have this inefficiency in the lab. We can do it this way because we're boots on the ground. We see this every single day. We want to change this process. So
Mhm.
now he's able to spearhead this to people above him, creating innovation.
Mhm.
Through this innovation, employee satisfaction scores went up. which meant so did the Press Ganey scores, the overall hospital rankings.
Of course.
Well, there's your productivity. And as your innovation and productivity go up, so do the profits. Because if you have
Mhm.
employees that are happy to be there, buy into the mission, and are loyal, the patients are happier.
Yeah.
And there it is. It all balls together.
And the data and analytics do not lie.
No, they don't. They do not. And there's like some big studies out there, like by Ernst and Young. So top 4 major, global consulting group talking about this and how it raises innovation, productivity, and profit.
Mhm.
I don't even have to make it up because it's right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh. So before I dive into your book, I know what empathy means, but let's hear from your perspective and why you're so passionate about it.
Empathy at its base level is just, I can feel what you're feeling. Because I can feel what you're feeling, I can better understand you as a human being. I'm not taking responsibility for what you're feeling. I am not jumping in to try and fix what you're feeling. And just because I have empathy, it doesn't mean I don't have boundaries. But now we're connected at a human level.
Mhm.
And I think at its absolute base, that's what it is, humans interacting with humans as humans.
Yes. I love that. I had a chuckle. AI was flashing in my face while you were sharing that because there's so much lack of human to human connection now. It's not funny, but it is funny. Again, your work is so needed now more than ever.
The
Mhm.
more we rely on technology, working from home and AI, the more human connections are important, which is even more
Yes.
reason we should be doing this right now.
100%. I couldn't agree more. So let's hear about your book.
Leadership, it's called The Empathic Leader, How
Mm.
EQ via Empathy Transforms Leadership for Better, Profit, Productivity, and Innovation. And I
Mm.
actually go into the why, wherefores so that you can see how it starts. As a leader, this is what you can do today to create better profit, productivity, and innovation.
Mhm.
But throughout the book, I also talk to the middle managers, the other people involved, even just the employees. Because again, well, number one, we never know who's going to be a leader tomorrow.
Mhm.
But this really is something that works throughout society because when empathy works well, it works in both directions. It isn't
Mhm.
just that I feel what you're feeling, you also feel what I'm feeling. And that's where the connection's at. It's not just for leaders, it's not just for managers, it's not just for employees.
Mhm.
It's really for everybody.
Mhm. And it's an invitation for employees to step into their own leadership.
Absolutely. Even if
Mhm.
it's just starting with self leadership.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. So you are currently completing your second doctorate, is that correct?
Yes.
And you've written a book.
Yes.
Are we able to purchase it now?
Not yet, but it'll be out the end of this month.
The end of this month. Okay. I know you said September. I just didn't know the exact date. So this is exciting. So how do you do it all?
Well, I'm kind of
'Cause-
crazy. I'm also doing some speaking now. I can be as passionate about it as I want, but if I just sit in my room and talk to my cats,
Yeah.
then I'm not really doing much good out in the world.
Mhm.
I think the big thing is I'm just really driven. This is really important to me. And the
Yeah.
way I see it, if I could keep one other person from being mangled the way I was,
Mhm.
then I've done my job.
Mhm.
And that's what I want. I want to be out in the world. I want to be making a difference. I want to be making a change. I don't want to slow down because any opportunity might be that opportunity to affect that change.
So where are you speaking?
I actually just got done speaking at Cambridge University in the UK, which was phenomenal because it proves that
That's
this isn't just
incredible.
our country. This is
Yes.
everywhere. I'll be doing some speaking in Miami, and then in the end of October, I'm actually going back to speak at Oxford in the UK.
Yes. Sprinkle the empathy and emotional intelligence everywhere in leadership. I just love it.
Yes,
Wow.
like
Oh,
breadcrumbs.
exactly. I love it. Well, I can't thank you enough for all that you do and the profound impact and ripple effect you're creating in this world. It's so needed.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to be here with you today. And
Yeah,
I know I'm speaking to someone who's part of my posse on this. Let's spread it out everywhere.
100%. How can people connect with you? I'll obviously put access to connecting with you in the show notes, but how can they learn from you, connect with you?
The easiest place is probably my website because it has links to my LinkedIn and Instagram and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And that is EQVIA empathy. It was just easier than saying EQ through the use of empathy
No,
because we
it's
don't need any
beautiful.
more long websites. If they go there, they can sign up for the newsletter. There is a video that will go out for the top 5 traits that leaders need today. I will be happy to keep everybody posted when the book comes out and love to be in contact with everyone. I do have a YouTube channel, which I love having more people join in the conversation and be part of what's going on. That's kind of my laboratory because it gives me a chance to talk, interact with people, and work through things. So that's the Empathic Leader. I love to see people there as well.
I asked this question to all of my guests. For those who are, wanting to throw in the towel or quit, what is a message of hope that you can give them?
Right before I took up this mantle, I was there too. I was ready to just throw in the towel and quit. But there's bigger things out there. There's more that we can do. And at the time when you think you've got nothing left to give, look around because you might be surprised at where the inspiration comes from.
Mm. Ugh. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
It's been an honor. Thank you, thank you, thank you.